Oh, God. What's happening, guys? Steve Mayeda here, and today we are answering the question, why people in 12-step groups are losers. That means groups like AA, NA, CA, GA, SLAA. There's about 500 other of them that
Too many.
I forget at the moment. But why don't their lives progress? But the people who ask me this question are generally people who are in 12-step organizations or have been part of a 12-step group, and they're just sick of it. They feel they've outgrown it. They don't want to be influenced by these people anymore, and they want to progress to a different level. And let me just tell you, if that is you, I want you to listen to this. Listen up, you, right there, you. Yeah, you. One of the reasons I get asked this question is because, one, I have a men's development company, and two, I've been a 12-stepper for a long, long time. So I get asked this question a lot.
Podcast begin.
So you started going to a 12-step organization for whatever reason. Maybe it's gambling, maybe it's sex, maybe it's drug addiction, maybe it's alcoholism. And you go for a little bit. Let's say you buy into it, you get clean, you get sober, you get whatever you want to call it. You rack up some time underneath your belt. You start rebuilding your relationships with your family, whatever it is. Stuff in your life starts getting better. But then you're 3 months in, 6 months in, 9 months in, maybe a couple years in, and you start to realize people in 12-step groups, their lives don't always progress. Like perhaps you got really into yoga, perhaps you became an entrepreneur, perhaps you did X, Y, and Z and your life got better, but Rick over there in the corner has 16 years sober and he can't afford a car, he's still in debt, he has all these other problems, he can't have a relationship and so on. And this is super common in 12-step recovery in any of the groups that you go to. Of course, I haven't been to all of them, but you see this consistent pattern of people who have the ideal of what that group offers, maybe clean time from drugs or sobriety from alcohol and drugs, or their sex addiction under control, yet the rest of their life doesn't piece together. And this becomes super unattractive when you start to distance yourself from the program, when you start to move on with your life, or maybe your life progresses financially or in your relationships and so on, all these different things. This makes you not want to be a part of the program. And this, my friend, is dangerous. And so here's the deal. There are a lot of people who don't get their entire life together when they're in AA or CA or GA or whatever you want to call it. And if you're looking for a program that's going to do that, then you are looking in the wrong place.
Keep listening.
Here's the deal. And let me just solve this for you right now. A 12-step program like Alcoholics Anonymous is there to teach you two things. 1, get you sober. 2, live a spiritual way of life. It doesn't make any promises about you getting another job, a better wife, being able to get past social anxiety, being able to have you speak in front of crowds. It doesn't say that society's gonna accept you, and it doesn't say people are going to respect you better. You should never expect that from any 12-step group that you're a part of. All you should expect is 1, that it helps you get past whatever you're going there for. So it could be narcotics, it could be alcohol, it could be gambling, it could be sex. And 2, live a way of life where you have acceptance, peace of mind, clarity. And in order for you to have any of those two things, you don't need a better job. You don't need to be respected by society. You don't need to have a six-pack or be in shape. You don't need to have a good diet. And before we get into the particulars of that, I want to jump to this, which is you. That's right, you. So here's the thing. You gotta pay attention. You're messing up. You're skating on crazy, crazy ground. Now I'm gonna tell you right now that I use the 12 steps to progress in many, many ways of my life. But if I walk into, let's say, an AA meeting and expect anything more than living its way of life to keep me sober and to live a spiritual way of life, I am expecting too much. But I get it. Man, I've been here in recovery so many times. You look at Rick over there in the corner and he can't hold down a relationship. He's in tons of debt. He's stealing on the side. Oh my God, he's not sober or clean or whatever you want to call it. He's not living a spiritual way of life. Let's judge him and find out excuses why I don't need this. And this is what happens. You then go, I don't need to go to meetings. Fuck people in recovery. They're losers. I want to progress with my life. I need to be with another group. And this is where people who have addiction issues totally screw up. And I've done it too. We go either or. See, for me, I have progressed in some things in my life and could progress in many more. But if I want to progress in jujitsu, I go to a jujitsu school. In fact, I go to 2 jujitsu schools. If I want to progress at business, I go to an entrepreneurship course or an entrepreneurship group or a mastermind for entrepreneurship. In fact, I could just go to my own mastermind for entrepreneurship. Check it out. If I want to develop in my relationship, I talk to somebody who is an expert in that, or people who have that same goal of wanting to do better in their relationship. And I will hands down be the first person to tell you that recovery has taught me almost everything about running a business, having a relationship, being somebody who can be my best self. If I want to commit to a certain way of life, man, I'll tell you this, recovery is my model that I follow. But what that means is I don't expect to walk into a CA meeting or an NA meeting or a GA meeting and think that somehow I'm gonna meet people that are great to do business with or set up my financial portfolio with. In fact, you should never do that. Don't do that. That should just be a rule of thumb. If you meet somebody in a meeting and they want to start a business with you, don't do it. Don't do it. It always ends up bad. And to that guy watching this right now going like, oh no, man, but you don't know who I know. No, it ends up bad. Trust me. See, as you progress in your recovery, what you need to do is you need to, number one, keep your foundation of recovery. You might not go to the same amount of meetings. Man, I've been in recovery since I was 14 years old. I go for drugs and alcohol, and my clean date is not from when I was 14, but more when I was about 30. You do the math on that. And I still go to 2-3 meetings a week, have major commitments, have a lot of sponsees, and I'm always involved in the program. But here's the thing. I also have a business. I also have a family. I also have major commitments in my life that I need to balance within that. And having accomplished those different things, one thing that I can tell you is guys that think with that mentality, like, oh man, everybody in AA is a freaking loser, man, they don't go anywhere, are people that are on the road to distance themselves from recovery, build resentments, build contempt, and make a bunch of excuses for why they need to not be a part of this group anymore, when really they just didn't manage their time right. So when you came in, your life was unmanageable, and it still might be. So you want to be more successful? Well, let's do it. Let's take some of those principles that we learned from recovery and adapt them to things outside of our life. That's what you need to do. That whole unmanageability thing in the beginning when you first got clean or sober or whatever you want to call it still applies to you today. This is also why you shouldn't just stick with the 10, 11, 12 type step work. You should go back to the beginning and just cycle through them. Anyway, just a thought. I'm not your sponsor. Listen to them. They know what's up. The most important principle that I could tell you about is something I made a video about just the other day. Check it out. Right there, and it's submission. Shutting up, listening to whoever you respect, doing what they say, and following their direction. Following the action of somebody who you respect, you want something that they have, and doing it, doing the action. If that means you take a loss, it doesn't matter. Do it. I'll tell you right now, when it comes down to relationships, if I'm having a problem with that, a lot of times I'll listen to somebody I respect and that advice might be wrong. If I don't know, I do it anyway. If I'm confused, I do it anyway. If I'm emotionally overwhelmed, I do it anyway. And when I do that, even though that advice might be wrong in the moment, my life is better in the long run. So think about this when it comes down to business, upping your career, upping your place in society, getting in shape, creating a philosophical perspective. You might need to ask somebody who has something that you want. To start, pick one person, stop listening to everybody else, and do what they say. Take those actions. And now, of course, when you get into it a little bit more, you can have 5 or 6 people, kind of like I do. Principle 2 that I got from recovery is show up early, leave late. I can't tell you how many different meetings I have shown up to set up, put up the chairs, shake hands at the beginning, give hugs, whatever, all that sort of weird stuff, and then clean up afterwards. Now, what that taught me is if I want to learn anything in life, I'm going to do that. That is a great starting place for me. If I want to join a new gym, a martial arts team, whatever, show up early, leave late. If I want to start a new job, show up early, leave late. But once again, that job, that gym, whatever, the culture of that group is going to show me what that means to show up early and leave late. I don't look to the 12 steps to that. So pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. Show up early, leave late, be committed to something. Being committed to something doesn't just take money, it doesn't just take presence, it takes you being involved with your maximum investment. The third thing is attraction rather than promotion. Now, I'm in a business. I have to promote. I have to market. I take money. One of the most beautiful things about the 12 steps is there's no leader and there's really no money. Just imagine all those cults out there if they didn't have a leader or didn't have money. It's like the coolest cult ever. Hey-ya! But when I'm marketing hard and I'm putting stuff out in a business or showing myself to the world or going in for a job interview, when I'm trying to get attention to me, what am I doing? Am I promoting more or am am I attracting more? So how can I build that natural attraction? How can I build that example more than anything? Now, hardcore marketers are gonna disagree with me, and sometimes I do hardcore market a little bit. But for me, what's so important is that I am attracting. I am being the person. I am walking the walk. That is super important to me. So if you're somebody that wants to better your life, man, build some attraction in your life. Get it better. Look better. Don't expect the world to give you anything. And see that promotion is only a tool for that, but if I'm using promotion to kind of put a mask over myself, I build a screwed up life. And the fourth thing, and this will be the last one because I could literally list off 100 of these, is we'll just make it works if you work it and it won't if you don't. Pretty simple thing that people always say, generally at the end of a meeting and so on, but this is one of those things where I don't see people doing anything. If you want to better your life, work it. If you want to progress in certain ways, work it, but don't complain, don't expect anything. And see, let's just tailor off into this. I know so many people in recovery that expect something for nothing. It's just one of those addiction things where we get complacent, we get pissed off, we have a relationship and someone talks trash on us, whatever. There's all sorts of reasons in the rooms why and how you can build enemies. You're around a bunch of addicts, you're around a bunch of alcoholics, it's easy to build resentments. And I'm gonna be the first to tell you that the 12 steps are a way, they're not the only way. I work with other groups that deal with heroin addiction, sex addiction, alcoholism, cocaine addiction, that don't practice a 12-step philosophy, and I see people beat their addictions through it. I'm gonna tell you right now, here are the best percentages I see in that, hands down for long-term recovery, are the 12-step groups. But if you're bitching about people in your AA group not being successful enough, or Rick in the corner who's just a slob, yet he can quote everything out of the big book and so on, is your reason for not liking the program, you're the one who's lazy. You're the one with the problem, and you're the one who needs to watch out. For you to expect that recovery is going to teach you everything and be the sole source for you bettering your life, that's just stupid. For you to expect that recovery is going to teach you everything and be the sole source for you bettering your life, that's just stupid. Now, that being said, I've done it. I've had countless sponsees do it, and I've seen a lot of people go out because of it. And so, like I said, for me, I do use recovery as a model for everything in my life. My relationship goes bad, I look to the principles of recovery. My business is faltering, I look for the principles of recovery. I need to change my presence to the world, I look at what recovery has taught me. But then I go outside of recovery and use those tools and those principles to implement with either different strategies, different coaches, different mentors. And I'll tell you this, it's pretty straightforward. My life gets better. And it starts making it a lot easier for me to see what recovery is really about. So when Rick's over there in the corner talking about how he's on his 5th marriage, he's fat, he's overweight, he can't find a job and is on unemployment and it's about to run out, or whatever his deal is, I go, man, Rick's an addict and he has every right to be in this room. Get clean, find a spiritual way of life, and his value in this anonymous program is just as much as anybody else's here. And you know what? To me, that's probably the greatest principle of it all. As simple as it sounds, the beauty of just being Steve, that when I put drugs in my body, I become a tortured soul, have found a new way of life through doing some simple things that give me the opportunity to then live again. What kind of a selfish person would I be, and I've been this person before, if I expected the very program that gave me that to give me everything else because I just didn't know how to work for it. And there's just one more thing that I want to share with you, and that is, wow, men's development and your path of being a better person is something that is one of the most important things of your life. This is why I started this podcast. This is why I do these videos. And this is also why I have programs that deal with developing yourself as a man in every single way. How I set up my business, how I set up my coaching program is a lot like recovery. We have calls multiple times a week. In fact, we have one coming up in like 20 minutes, so I gotta go. But if you wanna be on those, check out the free stuff linked down below, or the different links to the different courses that I have. Download our free guides. And more importantly, wherever that face of mine, not this, the other face, click on it and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell and then get notified when we put up videos. In any case,